You're listening to a CNA podcast.
Now, a letter to myself with Joel Chua.
Like I say, I didn't find photography. Photography found me. That's how I looked at it. Because Dad gave me the camera. And not only did he give me a camera, he gave me my whole career and my life.
Oh, what a way to put it. In the world of photography, few names command as much respect as Russel Wong. His eye and lens have produced iconic images of a whole constellation of Hollywood stars, including the likes of Jackie Chan, Richard Gere, Tom Cruise, Michelle Yeoh, many, many more. It's a very long A-list of celebrities who have posed for Russel. But in just a little while, you may be surprised to hear that his most memorable photo shoot was of someone much closer to home. Well, apart from notable portraits, Russel is, of course, also very much known for his mesmerizing still life, architecture, and landscape shots, with some even being sold through Christie's auction house. In this edition of A Letter to Myself, Russel reflects on how his career and life have developed over more than 4 decades in the business. Here's how it started.
I'll tell you, I picked the camera up when I was 16. This is Sec 4. And actually, my dad gave me the camera. So I didn't really ask for it. It was a no-name brand, I didn't want to sell it anymore.
DSLR or one of those?
It was not no DSLR, it was just a SLR.
Sorry, SLR.
Yeah, so, he got it from a shop that's, I think they're still around, from a shop on Northbridge Road. Cost him about $150 all in. And he just gave it to me and just to play around with it. And I think part of the reason also because he knew that I was going to go away, and Dad was going to send me away to the U.S. to go to college.
Okay.
So it was mainly here's a camera. I'll teach you how to use it, because my dad was taking pictures himself, and as a hobby, serious hobbyist, and so he just taught me how to use it and just take some pictures and pretty much send it back to Mom and Dad. It was not that I was a camera buff or I was interested or. I never belonged to a camera club. My friends did in school, in secondary school. Yeah, so with that, in camera, when I was 16, I went to the University of Oregon. Yeah, it's just after a year, I felt it was really fun, obviously. It was easy for me. I felt it was just easy. I didn't have to try so hard, and I never read manuals and I just got advice from the camera store people, and I felt it was fun. It was a great lifestyle. It was easy to do. And just literally after a year just doing it or so, I got my first job.
Okay.
Yeah, I got my first job and I got my first published picture in a magazine.
As in your first photography job.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my first photo that was published in an international magazine.
How old were you?
Oh boy, I think barely 18.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that job was? What was the photograph?
So it was actually of the great middle distance runner, the Englishman by the name of Sebastian Coe. So Sebastian Coe, of course, he held all the world records, and he was like the top middle distance runner then, and he was sponsored by Nike, and he came to my school, gave a talk, and in a park, and I just happened to snap some pictures of him, and then, long story short, I was asked to give the pictures to Nike, to give it a shot, see what I could get, maybe free shoes. So I went and I brought the pictures to Nike and got the shoes and got it published as a cover.
And got a career out of it as well.
Exactly. So actually, when you ask, that was pretty much when I figured, man, this is pretty easy because I've been shooting for less than 2 years and I got a cover, an international cover, and it's a great lifestyle. I'm shooting these people I admire, so that led to, and I knew then it was wow, I'm on to something. So I knew myself, I'm on to something, and I don't want to take this for granted because not many people do it or get this done or get a cover when they just start out. And other people and friends of mine and people were like, they were quite excited that, wow, they saw my picture in the magazine. So this was the kind of the sign for me.
Right.
When you ask me what was the point, there's this tipping point.
Yeah.
Like that, and for me, that was a kind of a very encouraging event that happened that I had to embrace it and that, look, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And I never looked back since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, you're known for portraits
Yeah.
of well-known individuals.
Yeah, so very interestingly, although I started sports, right?
Yeah.
And the cover of Sebastian, he was not running. It was a portrait. Yeah, so even back then, I really enjoyed the portraits more than the action shots.
Right.
That's why, yeah.
Right. Did you ask him to pose for you, or was it an impromptu?
He was just giving a normal, like a running clinic in a picnic shed.
Right.
You know, I was sitting down on the floor with 20 other people, and it was pretty much a snapshot.
Yeah.
You know, of like a headshot that looked like a portrait, because I didn't know what, how I was supposed to I didn't have any control. I mean, he was doing what he was doing, but I just went for a really tight shot, had a flash, to fill in the light of the shadow areas, and that happened.
Right. What makes a great portrait shot?
Wow, that's a tough question. I mean, it's like what makes great art? What makes a good painting?
Because the way you described it, it was like you said, almost like a casual snapshot.
Yeah.
But it was good enough to be published in a magazine for you to get that free pair of shoes from Nike, and for you to get a career out of it. So what is it about the essence of a portrait that makes it stand out from others?
I think in that case, you could. He looked really heroic in the shot because he was a world record holder for 4 events. And because I was shooting from below, looking up, so he was more statuesque, so to speak, although it was a headshot. And his look, the feel, the way he was looking, obviously the lighting was amazing. And I was so lucky because the sunlight was streaming in from the back as an edge light. And then, of course, I filled in the front. It looked like a studio shot because it was a dark picnic shed, the shadow behind. Yeah, so I mean, all the elements came together, and there was, point was luck, that was a setting because it was a tight headshot. And I got the moment because, of course, through the roles, I would just pick the ones I like, or the ones magazines would pick the ones they like, and that's the one they settle for. Yeah.
Right. So it's been how many years since that?
Oh boy,
since Sebastian Coe.
It has been. Let me see. It has been Boy, this is crazy. It has been 44 years.
My goodness.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I look back and wow, it's like 44 years has passed, and so now obviously he's Lord Sebastian Coe.
Yeah.
Right, and he led the UK contingent, and and they won the London Olympics, and now he's of course the president of World Athletics. He's gone on to great things, and just to think that it was because of that shot that made me decide this is what I'm going to do. And I told him later on when I met him, I said, it's because of your shot. I'm a photographer, So we had a good laugh, Yeah.
Well, that's a wonderful story, It's been an illustrious, to say the least, 44 years since then. Looking back at your career, if you could pick one experience, one moment as a photographer that really stands out for you, what would that moment be?
I think definitely, I've shot so many people, and definitely one of the moments was doing the portraits for Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, when he was senior minister, and then having those images used for the Time magazine, when he passed away, and they used my pictures and my images to open the whole article, like a tribute to him, So that meant a lot to me, because it was historical, right? And I had the chance to photograph him many times, and Time magazine, that's the magazine I shoot for. So they knew I had some pictures, and I told them I had some pictures that no one has seen, and they published it. Yeah, so it was really a real poignant moment for me.
What was it like photographing Mr. Lee Kuan Yew? You've had him for many sessions, like you said, right, over the years.
Yep.
Share with us some of the more memorable experiences you've had with him.
He's very media savvy, so he takes direction great. Because I know people are, sometimes they're quite scared of him to tell him what to do, but I just do what I did. That's what I do. Direct the subject to get what I want. For the image I have in my head. And he took direction really well.
Yeah.
And just went for it, and we just no problems, and we tried different variations for certain things, even what he was going to wear. So he was very open to it, and And I think originally he gave me only like 15 or 20 minutes originally, but it ended up being like 45 minutes. Yeah, so he must have enjoyed it.
Okay.
He was on the cover, and then there was huge opening spread of him looking at the city of Singapore in the Istana, from the Istana.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a shot. And actually that shot was kind of was not planned. It was not planned. I wasn't supposed to take him outside, but I did because he was like, okay, what do we do next? I said, oh, can you come outside? Because I saw this opportunity. I mean, you could see the city of Singapore, the skyline from the Istana. So I wanted to show him looking at the skyline, like kind of he built the city in a way, reflecting on what he did, and so it was great for the article, yeah.
A lot of lay people, right? People who are not so familiar with the world of professional photography, especially for portraits, right? Where you work with individuals, especially well-known individuals who are very established in their own right. How much control do you have of your subject? Because like you just shared, right, the experience with Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, it wasn't planned, that shot that made the front page of Time magazine.
It wasn't planned, but I directed him.
Right.
It's a bit different, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But it was instinctive in the sense that you didn't plan to have him outside, but you said, you know what, I've got a feeling, I've got an intuition that this is going to make a good shot. Let's go outside.
Yeah.
So how much control do you have over your subject?
How much control? I think, let me put it this way. I want to have as much control as possible, because these things just don't happen. Oh, by the way, he just happened to be standing there, or she happened to be doing this, or it's you can grab moments. I understand, but that's not what a portrait photographer does. So what I do, it's really planned out. The lighting to the point. The set, where you're going to place him. Everything is thought of and planned out and sketched out. And I can see the shot already.
Right.
Before I shoot. I mean, and like you ask any director too of films, they see the movie in their head already. That's why they know what to do and what to tell the actor to do and the actress to do. Because they've seen that film run in their head. Similar to what I do.
Right.
I see the shot already in my head. It says I'm going there and I'm just executing it. And you have full control. Right. The problem is when you don't have any control, then the shot is not yours. The shot is whoever you're shooting at. He dictates this and he dictates that. Yeah, there's points. Yeah, I mean, there's situations I've been in where it's kind of like that. But I'm just persistent. He said, okay, you do what you want. Now it's my turn. Let me just shoot the way I would shoot it. Yeah.
Right, so there is a tension between subject and photographer.
I mean, there is. I wouldn't say a tension. I wouldn't say a tension. I would say a relationship, and like all relationships, it can go either way.
Yeah,
right. It can go bad, which you hope not. But most of the time, it's chemistry.
Yeah.
That you're after a certain image, because I always explain to them what I'm trying to go after. See, the mistake people make is they just go in there, they're the right people, and they just shoot, and they don't tell the subject what they're going after. You know what I mean? So at least when you tell them and plan what you're trying to go after, they will help you, because you need the help, and it's a collaboration, right? In order for them to get you your image.
Yeah.
It's not just about my lighting.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I also can't help but contrast, the story that you shared with Sebastian Cole, that photo that launched your career 44 years ago. It was an impromptu shot.
Yes.
Right. But at the same time now, after many years of experience, you're saying that, you can visualize, it's almost planned, you're in control of your subject matter now. So it's moved on quite a bit from that original.
Of course, right? Yeah. But even for that supposed snapshot of him, even for that, I made it a point to bring a flash, because there was backlight, and I controlled that.
Yeah.
And I knew how it was going to look. And I also controlled, in a way, not so much what he did, but when he did certain things and I see the moment, I snap that. So in a way, I'm picking at, like passively picking, but not telling the subject what to do.
Right.
So there is some of my hand in there, picking the moments, so to speak, right? But that's what photographers do, right? In a documentary or whatever, a reportage work.
There are many portrait photographers.
Yeah.
What makes a Russel Wong portrait a Russel Wong portrait?
It's a loaded question. Oh boy. Yeah, a lot of people ask me this. I think what I always try to achieve is I try to have an image that's timeless. So when you see that image, just like any great art you love, right? That you study over and over, masters, it doesn't date. So I want my images to exude the same qualities, and not just have it shot. Oh, this is really cute and fun and fashionable and trendy, and like for Instagram or whatever. And it's done. It's done in 2 months. This is what I get asked all the time. How do you make them feel comfortable? How do you make them feel real, sincere, authentic? I mean, there's like, they got to let the guard down. Because I'm not there to shoot someone that's just with beautiful hair and makeup. You're shooting actually the personality, the person inside, the character, right? What he stands for, what she stands for. And to get to that, I think the great photographers are able to get the performance, just like the great directors are able to get the performances of the subjects or the actors.
Right. It's so interesting that you put it that way, a performance.
Yeah, it is a performance.
Most of us, we look at the photograph, it's a still shot. What performance, right? We're thinking what performance? Performance is movement, right?
Yep.
What do you mean by performance?
I mean, it's just even facial, right? The facial, like, could you look this way or that way? Could you put your hand up? Yeah, it's a certain body language that represents a person that you go, oh, that's so him. Oh, that's so him, the way he does that. And how many times have you seen a picture? That's so typical, so-and-so, Yeah, because, all of us have a certain characteristics, how we stand, sit, laugh, a certain quality you have that defines who you are. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to look for.
Right. And you talk about helping them get their guard down.
Yeah.
What do you do to get them to get their guard down?
Well, here we go. So it's a lot of things, man. Yeah. It's a lot of things because I do so much research, with the people I shoot. And the reason is because it's just out of respect, firstly. And because, it's nothing, worse than just shooting someone and you don't know what a guy does or what a girl does, right? Just like when you're interviewing me, some background about myself, you don't know where to start with the questions, and so that's very important. And I'm able to also chat with the subject about his projects, about what he likes, what he doesn't like, and kind of delve into that real conversation where it's not just superficial. And he will know. The person will know whether I did my homework, whether I know what he does. And when you kind of like, wow, this guy, he knows every single album I played on. Like he will give you more because there's a certain trust, because wow, he likes my stuff. He does it. He did his homework. He's a big fan of mine, and therefore you have this relationship, that when you ask for something, he will give it to you because of that.
Right.
Yeah, that trust, that relationship, and that, like I say, it's just the knowledge you have of this person you're shooting.
The rapport that you build with them.
Exactly, and the rapport is because you can chat about something, right, in common. So then the other thing with the knowledge you have and the research, the who you are, that's when I try to encapsulate, that in a portrait, Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That's really quite fascinating, quite amazing. It's been 44 years since that defining shot of Sebastian Cole. If you could write a letter to your younger self, considering everything that you've experienced and how you've evolved for the past 44 years, what would be in that letter?
I think, obviously everyone growing up, they have the different environments, I went to school in Singapore, right? And then I went away. All through school, I didn't feel I was good enough, And good enough, like where does a kid get that idea that you're not really good enough? So who sets the standard? Obviously you look at your classmates, right? So I was never like the top guy, far from it. I was always just barely average. I was not good academically, and of course in this world, it's so competitive when you're growing up and you're slotted into different streams and you're given these labels that, you got to go here, you got to go there, you can't go to the school, you can't go to that school, you can't transfer there because of your results. That's the pressure kids, and people growing up feel. that's so young in the race. And I look at it as a race. Now, I would tell myself, this is not a sprint. It's not how you start. It's how you finish. And this is a marathon.
Yeah.
So it's only a small part of who you're going to be and your little path you're going to take. So don't beat up on yourself, Don't beat up on yourself just because at 16 or 17 you're not the best or whatever, You don't want to be the best at 16. You want to be the best when you're 40, 50, 60. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what I would tell myself.
Right.
It's a long game. It's the long game, and it's not just about academic results, right? I mean, you've read so many times, so many people that will never go to college, but they become great, because they find ways to make it happen in this world, and especially in this new world we're in now. There's so many different opportunities. It's not like let me show you my cert, and I'm on to good things, Yeah. It's I don't think it's like that anymore. So I think to me it's like, I started because I did beat up on myself, because you come back from school and you're so dejected because you didn't do well in school, or you just did average and you get beat up on, right? Because you're not the 5% or that people look to, Yeah.
This was before you went to the U.S.?
Yes. Yeah. And it was before I went to the U.S., obviously, and that was part of the reason I went to the U.S., right? That, I think my dad wanted to see me thrive, maybe not in a system where it's just grades, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I'm glad I had an opportunity, to go and just kind of widen your horizons and not just slog away and memorize stuff and get A's and then you're great at 16 or 18 and then you take. Then suddenly from then on it's like downhill, So yeah, like I say, I would tell the people just do what you can and go. And importantly, I think after a certain point, it's like, it's just I tried finding other things to do, and therefore creatively, I was not just one dimension. I mean, as a student, I wasn't just one dimensional. I mean, I played the clarinet, the saxophone, played the piano.
This was even in Singapore, right?
So I did all that. So I had these other things to rely on, and other things to focus on, not just my studies.
Right.
And I could draw, I was crazy about drawing when I was 11, 12. And then they say, you stop, a person or a normal adult draws like a 12-year-old. So I stopped at 12, I stopped. I wish I was drawing more. And I was always good at art. So that part of it, it was maybe always at the back of what I was going to do, maybe. But I didn't know.
Right.
Because I didn't know that you could make money and have a career doing something creative. Yeah, don't not beat up yourself too much that you think you just want to get it done when you're 18. I mean, there's so much more to that. And also you don't know what's going to happen and what you're going to pick up that you love, And I remember my dad always telling us, man, you can't fail when you do something you love, So I always remembered that, and I said, look, I'm going to have a good time. I'm just going to do stuff that I'm going to have a good time and play music or whatever or draw, and then wherever it takes me, at least I'm in that zone that I know I'm going to enjoy myself.
Yeah. You've made reference to your father a couple of times. How big of an inspiration was he to you?
Oh, huge.
Tell me more.
Huge. I mean, my father is a doctor. So although he was a doctor, I mean, he was academic one part, huge part of him is academic, but on the other part, he always had these great life lessons that he would not force it on us to be a doctor, and obviously, but like I said, it was always like you work hard, you're going to get rewards, and no shortcuts. He always said no shortcuts. So I was always getting slammed by him because I was always trying to find a shortcut, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, because I want to do it fast, just like everyone, and also he also told us that just to do as much research as I did, as you can. So that's what I do. And it has helped me a lot.
Right.
Just research and knowledge is king.
Yeah.
When I have that in my back pocket and I know how to maneuver around and deal with someone when I'm shooting with them or dealing with someone when I'm working with them or collaborating with them, You know, it's so important to have that knowledge of who you're dealing with. And I do so much research. You know, back in the day, it was hardly any art schools here, right? A couple.
Yeah.
I remember Bahudin and Nafa. And no one made a living, or no one thought of being in the creative industry, you know, like doing something creative and making a career out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, no one thought, I'm going to be a photographer. I mean, my friends, they thought I was nuts. You know, my aunt, you know, I mean, everyone was like, yeah, right. You know, but because when they said that, when you say photographer, they only could think of the guy that shoots the wedding shots, the passport pictures, right? The photo studios like in Siglap, Raffles Studio. I mean, this is the image they have.
Yeah. You were a pioneer in some sense for the local.
In some sense, I guess,
profession.
you know, because I had the opportunity to do it in America, in the States, and that opened up everything for me. That, there's a different kind of photography, you know, there's sports photography and there's fashion and there's portraits. Yeah, so that really opened up my mind and opened up opportunities that were not available here. Yeah.
When you went to the States for your studies in your mid-teens, what was the biggest difference in the environment, in the academic culture that made such a difference to you?
I think just anything goes, man. It was just, there was no structure hardly. You know, people were just exchanging ideas and chatting, and, you know, like they took you for who you were, and it was a lot less structure. It was like structure, and people spoke their mind. People just spoke their mind and exchanged ideas, and very encouraging when I came along and I started shooting and you know, taking it more seriously, and people were really embracing it, like, oh wow, that's great, you get to shoot the track meets, you get to meet so and so, you know. I mean, you know, and sometimes when I came back here, I never got that, because they could not place you on that social ladder, right? Where do I place him on that social ladder in terms of status? It's like, how much money do you make? See, that's the only way. They want to put a price tag on it. And that's how they probably view success, which is totally wrong.
Yeah. How do you view success?
What makes you happy? What makes people around you happy? You know, nothing beats when you're happy. You can't put a price to it. You know, the happiness I get from just creating an image or working with someone I always, you know, like admired. I mean, this is something you can't buy. Yeah. You can't put a price tag on it. Yeah. You know, we like to put a price tag on everything. Life doesn't work that way.
Speaking of happiness and success, right? And also looking back at that letter that you said you'd share with your younger self, not to beat up on yourself too much. Why do you think it was important for you to have heard that message when you were younger?
Like now I'm thinking back, right? And people, maybe we would hear this quite often. It's like, if you change something when you're growing up, you might not be here. You think it's better, because I think we build on every single thing that we grew up on, you know, the mistakes, you know. I think the mistakes build you. So without those mistakes, without, you know, the misfires or whatever, the bad pictures, maybe I won't be standing here. So I think that's important to know, that it's not about getting it right all the time. People keep asking, what would you change? What would you change? A good example is this. When like now they know me as, you know, Mr. Hollywood shooting movie stars and whatever, right? You know, and then when I'm doing portraits and fashion and, you know, the real cool stuff. And so a lot of people ask me, say, why then did you, you know, like shoot sports at first, and you got your first break? My question, my answer is, if I wasn't a sports photographer, I would not have experienced and got the skills of shooting sports, which is, you know, pretty much time sensitive, shooting action. And if you see some of my portraits, a lot of it is a lot of action in it, of Zhang Ziyi jumping, or Michelle Yeoh dancing. So I have incorporated, because of shooting sports, into my portraits. So if you take that element away of just, why didn't you just go to art school right away in LA and just study your fashion and stuff? I couldn't do that, because I did not know what I wanted, you know, and the path I had to take was through sports, and then slowly changing and tacking and, and doing fashion and portraits and working in the Hollywood industry, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's all connected.
Yeah.
right?
It's developmental.
Exactly. As long as you kind of keep your eye on the ball, that you know what you want to achieve, and you slowly pave that path for yourself by asking the people that are successful to help. Because I had good people around me, and I was always asking them questions. What's the highest percentage of making it in my industry? And I would try to learn from that. You know, and you're supposed to make the mistakes.
Yeah. Who were some of your guides, your mentors along the way?
Oh boy, there's a whole bunch of them. I mean, it's like I would study and admire all these great photographers like the Richard Avedons and Helmut Newtons, and you know, and I would try if I could meet them to ask them, you know, like, or even supermodels, like how do you break away from the pack? You know, and they would give me their 2 cents worth, and usually it's like, hey, I just do my own thing. You want to stand out. You don't want to be part of the pack, therefore you cannot churn out work that looks like part of the pack. That's when you got to find your own voice, your own visual voice, so to speak. You know, and a really, really good advice I got actually after getting to know Jackie Chan and working with Jackie. And I said, hey, Jackie, so how did you get to be where you are? You know, I said, well, you know, I always had to be different. So when Bruce Lee passed away, right? I mean, he was supposed to be the next Bruce Lee or the successor. He says, yeah, Bruce Lee kick high, I kick low. Bruce Lee is serious, I'm funny. So I'm different. Right. And there's no one like me. You know, so you want to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this idea of being different, being comfortable to be different.
Exactly.
Right?
Not just for the sake of it.
Yep.
But you better back it up.
If that younger version of yourself who snapped that photo of Sebastian Coe 44 years ago were to look at you today, what would that younger version of yourself be thinking?
You know, it has been a long road, but I always, from that time, I just knew this is what I was going to do. There was no plan B, and I had to make it work, you know. That's why it was the tenacity and the persistence. It's not a problem for me because I had to make this work for me. There was no plan B, you know, and I'm glad that I you know, I've done what I've done. You know, and just like you say, I had a lot of faith in what I did. You know, I don't know. You know, it's just, I guess my parents are always very encouraging. You know, and they gave me the confidence, and they always said, "Look, you want to plot your own path, march to your own drumbeat. You know, don't be looking around too much because no one's going to help you. You can only rely on yourself." That's what Dad always told me. So to me, it was like, okay, I got to do my own thing. I got to do my own thing. And therefore, I had a very, very strong sense of self and not look around because I had my own plan. And when people would just comment and give me feedback or criticize, I just, in my head, I go, man, you have no idea what plans I have for myself. I would always tell myself that, you know, and that confidence obviously comes from my parents. And also, I think just like, again, the perfecting your craft. It is a craft, what I do. You know, I'm working on my craft. To this day, I'm still working on it, trying to do new things, trying to make it better or different. You know, I never stop learning. I'm always a student, you know. So that part of it, you know, kind of, you know, put me through the years and kind of carried me on. And like my dad said, you know, it's so hard to fail when you love something you do.
What an insight, what a journey.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. You can subscribe and follow A Letter to Myself on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And leave us a review as well if you liked what you've heard. Till next week, I'm Joel Chua, signing off.